Okay, welcome to Land XML for AutoCAD. Today we're going to be entering DP 1191535. So first thing we're going to do is load the list up. So here we go, loading the list. LandXML.lsp. And what that does is it sets up our layers, so we get a series of layers with nice colours on them now to assign things once we start drawing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is draw some straight lines. So we're going to select Travis, and we'll just start anywhere. And away we go. So we'll pick the bottom. We'll actually do the road definition here. I'm going to start at the left hand side, and the bearing written here is 277.5407. I'm just going to put a reverse on that so that we're going in the right direction. 277.5407 for a distance of 90 meters. Now I can quickly repeat that distance by going enter again and then going 18. It remembers that we wanted to go in reverse. So very quickly I've put in 4 lines of a Travis. What it'll do, it'll auto scale these short lines down. So a really short line will have really short text on it, but that's what we're going with at the moment. We actually come to some arcs now, so I'm going to select the arc Travis. We're going to snap onto our corner there, and around we go. So we've got 92.0530 for 14.173, and the radius is 70, and then we just give him a side to work to, and then around we go. 80.2925, 14.127, radius of 70, give it a side. So you can see it's printing the data as we go. 6, 14.97, radius of 70. Okay, so I've drawn a couple of lines there, but that's not much good because they're just in the layer 0, so we can just pick them up. And we're going to put them in the layer road, so they're in the right layer. We're using Land XML, you need to put the boundaries along the roads in the road layer, and then all other boundaries in the boundary layer. Okay, so we've got 2 here. I'm going to continue on. We do have a small arc. I'm just going to use a shortcut this time, X Travis arc. And around the bearing we go, 58.5633, 8.495, radius of 70. Give him a side. We'll put him in the road layer. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to select the road layer so that we can put the rest of our lines and I don't have to keep reassigning. So now I'm in the road layer, so every line I put in now will be in the road layer. So we're going to go a bit more traversing. We're back on the straight in this corner. We got 55.2750, 7.825, 100.2750, 5.657. 145.2750, 31.15. Now that's the end of the road frontage. So I'm just going to switch my layer to boundary, and we're going to go along the back. I've just done an XTR there, you'll see, it's just a shortcut, saving me going up to get it from the menu button. 335.2750 for 32. I actually got the next line coming from, I don't need the calculator here, 58.142, 37.544 minus. Okay, so we're going to go STR down the line there, 163.3709, 20.608 is the number that I've calculated there. And then we're going to go across the bottom. So the bearing I've got here is 97.5407. 30.441, 20, 10, 10. Look at that, I've done it all along. Reverse, 97.5407, 30.441. I'm going to go last bearing for 20. 18, lots of 18, and then 90. Oh, we're going to come up the side boundary, 7.54 and 7 for 40. Ooh, somebody's made a mistake. It's probably me. Okay, so it turns out that the old dyslexia's come in and this would appear to be wrong, so we're just going to switch back to our road layer. Pop a new arc in here, and then we'll just remove all of our stuff. So this is actually 68.3336, 14.97, radius is 70. Alright, and then pick up the rest of our traverse like so. We're going to get a correct position. Hopefully that gives a better clue as it does now. We need to make sure that this is within tolerance. I've got 1.4 mil, so I'm just going to pick up this line and shift it to that. The problem with doing vectors is you're always going to have these problems. Okay, and then we're just going to do the side boundaries of these pieces. And there we go, we've got 187.5407 for 40. Obviously that's not going to match the corner, so we pick up the line as nothing. Okay, so I'm putting those in the road layer, so that's not right, so we're just going to switch back to boundary. There we go. And we're going to make our working layer boundary as well. Now we've just got to pick him up, make sure he's snapped to the end, so wait for the square to come up there, and we can put in our next one. Okay, pick up the end, because obviously the bearings aren't going to be the same because we've got a fine out of mark. Bearing of reverse 7.5407 for 40. And our next one that came from here. We need to make sure we snap into the corner. Okay. This back. Reverse 7.5407, 41.435. That looks better. Okay, and snap into the end. So we're making minor modifications to the line, but we're still within the accuracy that's required. So there we go, we got reverse 359.4631, 46.125. So what happens here is we're moving the line by a tiny amount, but this data that we entered is still stored in the program, and it will get exported when we go to export. Okay, so here we go, 163, 3789, 47.94. You'll probably find there's a small misclose there. Let's zoom that in and have a look. Yes, 0.3 of a mil. Just nothing in, that's all good. Okay, so that's those bottom lots all done. We might make some, I don't think I'm going to put this entire thing in, but we might make some lots now. We're going to go up to Land XML and go grad lot. So we select the lot center, and then we're actually going to give this a part. This is a part lot of 244, so by putting PT in front of it, you create it as a part lot. And then the area here is written as 3600, and it's a proposed lot. So what we got, it actually checks the area based on the geometry you put in, and we've got a 0% difference, so that's good. So we'll just go through and do the rest of them. This is, we might actually start at the other end and just delete that polyline. Let's create lot. Put it in there, and this number is 234 with an area of 915.7. That's a proposed lot. And then we'll go again. It's 235, and then 24 is the area for that. Proposed. 236 is correct. 732.5 proposed. And then again, 237, yes, it says 726.7 proposed. Next lot is 238. There is 720. Okay, now what I'm going to do on this one is we can go default 239 is the correct lot, and you can actually type in L here to use the last area, just in case you have a whole stack of lots that are all exactly the same. So it's going to remember that area from the last one. And then we go Okay, so she puts in 720 for me, so we're all good there. Okay, now we shall put in any AMs, and we can connect into SSMs off it. Okay, so up in this corner, let's go a peg down. Now we'll put some RMs in first. So the first RM comes off this corner. We're going to go to Land XML and we're going to go create a reference mark. This corner here, our reference mark here is RM15, which is an SSM. So what we're going to do is just star, and that'll bring up a list, and select SSM from there. And it was found, so F for found. It's probably placed in this case, so we'll go P for placed. Condition is nil. Down to the SSM. 249.4445, 9.326. Okay, so in she goes. Gets denoted. Puts a little monument on the end for us. We've also got another one off this corner, which is also an SSM. We're just going to type in XRM off this corner. Now remember from last time it was an SSM, so we'll say yep, it's an SSM again. It's placed. Condition is nil. Referring to that one is 195.1945, 5.86. And she goes. This isn't actually on the plan, but I'm just going to put in a double RM off one of the other corners just to show you what they look like. So we'll pick this corner down here and we're going to do a double RM. So we've got two distances at the same bearing, so we're going to create a double reference mark, which is XDRM. And I've got one here further on in the plan, so we'll use extend. So we shall select a star. You can type any of these in manually, but it's sometimes easier to get the case because they're case sensitive from the list here. So we've got a double drill hole and wing here, and they will be placed. And the condition is nil. And we've got a bearing of 55.2750 or a distance 1 of 4.41, and then a second distance of 13.585. So there you go, she's put in the two RM distances and labelled as such. When you actually import an XML, the XML importer will identify that these exist. They're both on the same bearing and will denote that the same so you don't get overriding. So where we've got our lots. We've got let's put some corner marks in. So the Andrew Glenn Baker, Mr. Surveyor Baker, has actually found two pegs on these two corners. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some corner marks in, which is XCM. There we go, and we're going to select a peg from the list. And we're going to say it was found, its condition is okay, and he hasn't actually listed a reference DP on here, so we'll just have to go with no DP. And he's done the same on this corner here, peg, left it found, no reference number. Okay, we've also got a couple of easements over here, which are always great fun. Easement A and easement B, one is 2 wide and one is 3 wide, so we'll just go use an offset of 2 and offset of 3, and we'll run those into the end. So I'm just using extend and a trim. I'm going to pop them in a layer easement. There we go, and we're built. Now, the easement actually need connections to those as well, so we've got some lines here. So we could be still in the lot definition layer, doesn't matter. And then we've got an arc. Second point view, this is in the new. And we'll do another one. Okay, so we've got couple of arcs. So I'm just going to use the assign arcs. What you can do is you can actually bring in geometry from other programs and assign the XML stuff to it rather than entering, which is probably what will normally happen. I'm just giving an example of how you enter stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually assign those arcs using the assign tool, so assign arc XML. pick up our two arcs, and there we go, they get assigned, whatever their values are. And we're going to do the same for the line. So we're going to go Land XML, assign line to XML, pick up our 4 lines, and they get assigned with whatever the distance was up the side there. And we've actually got to build polylines now. AutoCAD does have a bit of trouble with defining arcs with an auto polyline builder like we were using before, so this time I'm actually going to draw the polylines and we're going to assign them. So I'm going to select lot definitions, which is where the areas for the lots go, and we're going to draw our first easement, which is 2 wide. Here we go, using the polyline tool, standard AutoCAD tool. We've done arc, second, the midpoint of that line we created, and then we're going to switch back to line mode. And up, I'll just type in this close. Okay, so there's our lot, and then I'll just do our other one while we're on the go. Polyline, arc, second. Now it's important here to make sure you go through all the lines you've defined, unless you do have to define a line that whole distance. So we're going to go second, mid, and then back to our lines. And once again, it's important that we actually put a node in the area along this line, otherwise it won't have any geometry to calc to. Popping back up to here and closing off. So we've got this lot and this lot. So we're going to go to Land XML, we're going to assign a polyline lot. We're going to select our first polyline, we're going to give it a center point. Actually used the wrong tool there, but we're going to assign a polyline easement arc. So we select our line, select the center, and we give it the easement description in this case. It is if you put brackets around the easement description at the start, it will automatically reduce it down to just that bracket, but it will actually store the entire description up on the lines. Got a easement for drainage water to wide. Proposed. So you can see that it's actually rotated, it's found the closest line and rotated the text to that. Now a second easement, which is an easement for drainage of sewer, so we're going to do the same thing, we're going to go assign easement. And we're going to give it a lot center of, that will pop it right there, and it is the easement for drainage of sewer 3 wide. We've actually got 3 wide and variable here, so we'll have the variable because in other parts of the drainage is wide and 3. It's a proposed lot, and it goes, it's actually snapped up the top there. Well, that's a good opportunity to move the lot center. So because that's snapped to the top, we're not real happy with its position, so what we're going to do is we're going to move it to a different spot, and we're going to use the tool with lot center positions. So we're going to select our reference slot, and then we're going to select that text, and we're going to select the reference slot. What that does is that the lot center was defined here, but we actually wanted it down here where the D is, and so it's shifted that. And then if you really want to be anal about it, we can rotate the text around. That looks nice. Okay, so we've got our easements in. Might actually put a reference bound down on this corner. It doesn't exist on the plan, but we'll just do it. Mr. Baker's got one listed at the top here, so we'll just use an example. So we're going to do Land XML. We're going to create a reference mark on this corner here. And what have we got? Let's see, drill hole and wing, so star, we'll choose drill hole and wing, and it was found. Its condition is nothing, and we have a bearing of 7.5407, 4.39, and a reference DP. You don't actually have to put DP on the front, but if you have CP it's required. you just type the numbers in, it'll automatically pop DP on there for us. So you can see there it's put RMDP pound. If we were to find one, so we'll do that one again, but we'll say it was disturbed in this case. So we'll do an XRN. So in she goes again. Now we might put a different mark in, seeing how we're having a bit of fun here. We'll put a PVC pipe in, and it was found. What we're actually going to do is set up a list, and we'll say it was let's see, we'll say the remains of the PVC pipe are there. So hopefully that should come through in the description. And we'll type in that down, 5407 4.79. And the reference DP 116.9803. You could also type in L here, and it would use that last DP, so if you found a lot of references from one mark, you can put them all in a go. So there we go, we've got the text there, it's nice of it. Own PVC pipe pound remains, our bearing and our distance. Just popping back where it should be. Okay, we've also got some PMs here, so we'll actually put the PMs in. So we'll put in a PM connection first, so we're just going to use our standard Travis XTR, coming off this corner, and it's got a link of 83.0810 to 94.101. I'm actually going to type in the word survey after the distance here and make that his observation between known marks. It isn't, but we will for this case. And what that does is that creates a field note on the line, and you can see we're also in a layer of definition, so I'm just going to pick that up and put that in PM connection, and it becomes that nice purple colour. You probably also have a tiny little misclose here, so we just pick up the end of that line and pop it in there. Okay, so we've got our survey distance between the two lines. We also need to apply a scale factor to that. What Andrew's scale factor is for this job. 1.40430408. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Land XML, and we are going to assign a combined scale factor per line, because that isn't normally put in. So we select our line and our scale factor of 1.000408, and that's stored on the line. Now all this information we're storing, if you want to have a quick look at it, all you have to do is pick the object, type in xd list, which is a standard AutoCAD command. We go xd list, select our object, and that'll tell us what's actually assigned to that object. So you can see there, I've got distance adoption factor, a field note survey, we've got a azimuth and a distance, and a pipe is measured. By default everything's measured. If you don't have anything measured, you're going to have to figure out a different way to do it, or use a new part of the program that I haven't invented yet. Okay, so we're just going to pop those two PMs in. With the package there's an Excel file that has an automatic Csv Maker, so this is what I've got. I'm going to bring over here. I've actually added quite a few now. I've marked the two I want in green. So what you do is you just type in your information, and then right at the end this will concatenate it all into a useful piece for the program. So we'll just pick that up and copy it, and then we come back to our AutoCAD. So that was 586. No, I've actually selected the wrong one. I'll just put it back in. We want 586, which is this one, and we're going to place a PM. So we go Land XML and create a PM mark, and we select where we want to put in. And then we just paste that information. I click down in there and I paste that information we copied from Excel. Automatically fills it in, and on this first one it's going to ask us for somewhere to put a PM notation box. And so there we go, so it's just going to start drawing the PM notation box down in the corner. And on the next one we'll just automatically fill it in, so I'll just go and grab the information from the next one, which is 87. I'll pop it in here. It's PM, as you thought that. And we paste that information to the command line, and in it goes, and it's automatically filled out our line there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to make some more edits to Mr. Baker's plan here and just put in some occupations. So we'll put a fence corner in here and we'll offset in by 0.5 metre, and then at the other end we'll offset in by 0.3. So this is a wobbly fence, so we'll pick up our lines and just snap them onto there and delete the secondary one. What we're going to do is pick up that line and pop it into the fence layer, and we'll actually add a building wall. So there's a building on this side which is over 0.1. It doesn't run all the way along, we'll just pop him off, so about there. It is actually on the front boundary at the front here, so we'll put that in wall, occupation walls. So you can see there it's actually put the wall on the wrong direction, saying that the building's on this side, which is not actually correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the reverse tool, which is a standard AutoCAD command. Pick that up, and that'll just reverse our line round the other way. Okay, now we'll put some occupations in. So we're going to put some occupations on the fence here, so a clearance between the fence and the boundary line. So we go Land XML, and we want to create an occupation offset. Okay, so we're going to go off the fence. It's important we select the fence first. This point to this boundary line, we're going to say that one is clear of the boundary. So it puts our text in, and then in this case it's actually over the adjoining boundary, so we're going to do the same command again. We select our line, pick up our point, and select this line here, and we're going to say O for over. This is 0.3 over. And actually because it's over, it doesn't, it's been cut down for textual purposes. We do the same thing with our wall here, so we're going to go XOC, pick up our wall, pick up our corner, select the boundary we want to offset, and say whether it's over or clear. In this case it's over the boundary. We're actually going to put the wall on the boundary here, so we're going to put a double occupation on this point, and we're actually going to do that using the corner mark point. So we're going to go add a non-peg corner. This corner right here, star select occupation, and we're going to say wall on boundary here, and it was found. The condition is nil, and it doesn't have a DP number. So it's there. You just need our peg that we put in there before out of the way. You can see it's put an occupation, a wall on boundary, so we've got 2 points there. And so we've monumented the front of the wall, and we've also occupied the side of the wall. The only other one we've got here is a curb, so we'll just offset 3.45, 453, that'll do. And we're going to put a piece of, say we found a piece of old curb here, and we're using that for our occupation. And so in we go, we use the same occupation tool, create occupation offset. Pick this corner up and point to that boundary. What it actually does is it recognises this line as a curb, and it says we're going to put in a special curb line boundary. The occupation for curb is different to the occupation type for a fence or a wall. I'll pop one in here as well, off this corner to this boundary. There we go, 3.453, which is what I typed in, or what we found out in the field. What else have we got? Oh, we need to put the title block in, so this will be good fun. So we're going to go Land XML, and we're going to put in our title block, create admin sheet. So we'll pick the bottom left of the admin sheet down here. Now, where is my admin sheet? Let's go over here. So I've got information to type in. The DP number is 1191535. The LGA is locality is done. Now we can select a parish. Our parish is actually Gunnedah. So find Gunnedah in the list. And what we'll get from picking Gunnedah is it'll also pick our county for us, so we don't have to fill in both of those. And we don't have to Gunnedah, potting, which is correct. Okay, so let's fill that in. Our surveyor was Andrew Baker of no fixed abode. date of survey was the 1st of the 8th, 2013. You'll note I've actually written that in the reverse of what it'll actually get printed at, and I've just used dots. It'll spot the dots and replace it with the minuses, which is what's required. It is a urban survey, and the terrain was level, so I've joined the U and the L. The surveyor's reference here was 6095 DPD. It is a plan of subdivision of lot 24 DP 1187004. And our plans used was DP 811234, DP 1114975, DP 1137786, DP 1169803. Should do. Our purpose in this case was a subdivision. We'll select that from the list by pressing star. The date of registration is the 10th 2nd 2014. It was surveyed. Jurisdiction is New South Wales. The format is standard. So you just press enter. Parcel notes. It actually says here it is intended to dedicate the extensions of Wood Drive and public as road. Always public road. And our azimuth in this case is UGA. Zone, what zone are we in? I'm pretty sure we're going to go with in 56, so we'll check. Yep, zone 56. The subdivision certificate number is 718052. And there we go, so we filled in our title block with all the required information. You'll see, so it should have reversed that date, and it should have reversed that date. It's done neither, which is weird. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What I'm going to do now is we're going to export this to Land XML and see if we can come up with a few errors. We actually need a datum point, so before we do that, so we'll whack our datum point between our two SSMs. So we're going to create a datum point, and we're going to pop this bloke in as here. It's actually written on the plan. We'll call this X, and it'll automatically get changed to A because Land XML doesn't like X and Y. It likes A and B. Call this one B. Okay, so that's created our datum line for it to text to, and then the next thing we want to do is actually export. We probably should save this drawing off, I suppose. So I've just saved the drawing off 1191535 test, and we're going to go X out. I'll just save it now, that'll be fine. So what we've got is a few problems here. We've got a couple of lot edges not defined by lines. Can sometimes happen with arcs and things, and it actually puts orange lines and dots in where we've got problems. So it would appear that we only have a problem here. The problem with using the tool I've chosen to automatically put the lots in is, as you're coming around an arc and going to a straight line, sometimes the created lot won't turn to the right spot, so we just got to pick it up and put it in the right spot there. Draw our orange lines. And just make sure our lots in the right, so they're all on top of one another now. Just test again. So what had actually happened there was the geometry used to define the lot, these red lines, it didn't match the green line underneath, so we had to come back and fix that. So if you've got curved lines, it can be easier to create the polyline like we did with the two easements and just assign it that way. But if you can get away with it, you can see 3 out of the 4 lots with the arcs around the outside you'd manage to create okay by looking at them. So we'll just do another X out until we've fixed our problems. So you can see down here we've got a few warnings but no errors. So we'll save them as text. So we've got no boundary arcs, no connection lines, and no arcs found in the program. Well, that's in the project. Well, that's fine. A connection arc is any other line that's not a currently proposed boundary, so we probably should put one of those in just for interest sake. I've got a connection line, yep. So we'll just put a connection line off here, so we'll get back to our Travis. Popping in off here, and it is a reverse of 97.5407 for 76 metres. And we'll just make that a connection line. And from here it actually goes across the road at 0.1246 or 18.163. That's a connection line 2. So you can see I should really have this in connection mode, but it's not that hard to pick up the lines once they're made. I've actually got an RM7 off this bloke, so we'll put him in. It's actually a double reference. So we'll go back to our create double reference and pop that bloke in. What have we got here? Drill hole and wing. We'll just go to our selector and find drill hole and wing. They're both found. The condition is fine. And here's the bearing. 7, 0.1247, 4.365 and 13.69. Reference DP 11377.6. So there we go, I've got a double reference in, it's going back up that line across the road and all the information's been filled in. Okay, so we'll just export our test again. There we go, so we've only got no boundary arcs and no connection arcs, so our boundary arcs are actually road arcs in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move that across. Actually what we should do is probably put this in the right position, so we'll just grab the coordinates of this. I'm just going to grab them from Excel and put them into the notepad document. Our A mark is 386, so I'll just put it in the notepad document. Paste that there, grab the coordinates that we need, clicking, and what we want to do is move the entire job from our assumed datum where we started, from this point, that coordinate that I just grabbed. So now we're up in the correct coordinate system. There must be something turned off, is there? No. Where's our information gone? So I found it by using zoom extents instead of double clicking the scrolly like I was doing. So you can see we're up here at the right coordinate system, and I've used my A point to put us in the right spot because obviously we're using plane distances for boundary survey. What we're going to do is we're going to do bulk move lot center. We did a single one, you remember on the B there before, so we're going to do a bulk shift lot center position. So we'll just pick this lot and this piece of text. So we selected the lot, and then we're going to move it by this piece of text and move all our lots to this position. And then when we export and bring it back in, it's going to be the right position. So we built a replica. The only difference between the two is it's now got CG points attached to it. So these little fellas here are CG points. You can see that's 21, that's a boundary proposed mark. As it's getting exported, it gets assigned those numbers. So when you get a report back from the Land XML validation service and it's referring to a certain point, you can bring these in and find those points and find out where your problems are. So you can see it's put in our two lots, it's labelled everything. It's almost exactly the same as what we put in over here on the left. To put pops on the lot corners. So when you export it, they're normally put in, but when they're not, it's nice to put our lots in properly. Put it back in the right spot. So you can see here our RMs have been put in correctly. Nice big double circle line, but on all our lot corners we haven't put any pops, so we can just create pops automatically. So we go create pops on lot corners, and that's done it. That's almost invisible what it does. Now these pops that look like white dots, they're actually designed to print as a circle, keep our line geometry be okay, and white out this corner so it actually looks like a circle like we normally get. So if I change my screen color to black, you should be able to see what I mean. Maybe switch our display color to white. So you can see what I've created there. Also the line widths are getting put in, they're defined by the layer, so you can see we've got a 0.5 line for all our boundary lines, nice thin lines for everything else. And there's quite a number of layers that won't get printed. For example, these RM connections don't get printed, and the other things will be printed in black. So okay, so I just had to add that. We're going to create a layout, and what that does is, using the scale that you've assigned, in this case we're using the default scale, which is 1 to 500, we can actually set that scale. So we can set the drawing scale to something a bit smaller. So if you wanted it 1 to 200, all the text would be smaller if we put it in, but in this case we'll keep it as the default of 1 to 500. So what it's actually done is create an A2 layout, automatically put in at the corner of the admin sheet. And so what we can do is we pick that up, put that over our little drawing, and then she should be ready to plot. So we're just going to go into the plot mode. Obviously things outside are going to get cut off, so you'll have to bring those in or make another page. We're going to print the PDF. Now we can plot with object line weights, and we're going to use the monochrome CPD, which is standard with most versions of AutoCAD, so everything will come out as black. And then we're going to do a window, and I'm using PDF Exchange. We actually want a A2 size piece of paper, so away she goes. And here we go, here's our rendered plan. Just take that in the right direction. So you can see it's actually filled in a few bits and pieces there from the admin sheet that we've already put in, and it comes out with nice thick lines for pops and that sort of thing. There's a bit of overriding text because it's not a perfect program, you can't have everything unfortunately, but it's pretty close to an existing plan. Okay, so thanks for watching. Hope you've learned a bit, and hopefully you use the program in the future. Thanks.